Chiron was born with an ability he hadn't asked for. In the kingdom of Varan, abilities determined everything: profession, status, and fate. When a child turned 7, the Guild Oracle conducted a test. It was a simple procedure: place a palm on a stone, and the stone would reveal the ability. Most received something understandable: strength, speed, fire or water magic. Something they could work with, something they could grow with. Kai was 7 when he placed his palm on the stone. The stone turned black. It didn't glow as usual, it turned black and cracked. The oracle, an elderly woman with weary eyes, stared at the crack for a long time. Then she looked up at Kay's mother. "Accumulation," she said. "What does that mean?" asked the mother. "It means your son will take on pain," said the oracle. "Others and his own. Take it on and hold it inside." Pause. A rare skill. I've seen it once in 40 years of practice. Is that good? The oracle was silent. "It depends on who's nearby," she said finally. Kai's mother didn't understand what that meant at the time. Kai understood later. His father left when Kai was 3. He didn't die. He just left. His mother didn't say where. Kai didn't ask. After he turned 12, he realized the answer wouldn't change. They lived in Terna, a port city, neither rich nor poor. His mother worked as a laundress. From the age of 10, Kai helped out, carrying water, hauling laundry, counting coins at the end of the day. At the School for Adventurers, which Kai attended starting at 14 because it was free and provided meals, his accumulation skill elicited 2 types of reactions. The first was curiosity, a rare skill and unusual mechanism. The teacher studied him as a phenomenon: how much damage he could take, how long he could hold it, what happened when it overflowed. The second was avoidance, because no one wanted to stand nearby when the reservoir overflowed. The accumulated damage would burst out in any direction, uncontrollably. Once Kai knocked down a wall in the training hall, accidentally. He'd just held it too long. He had no friends. Not because he was bad, just the one with the dangerous ability. They kept their distance. Kai trained alone. He learned to control it. He learned to sense when the reservoir was close to its limit. He learned to choose the direction of the release. Slowly, step by step, alone. At 17, his first mission? Alone. To destroy a pack of wolves that had been harassing a village north of Tern. A simple mission for D-rank novice adventurers. Kai arrived at the village, found the wolves, took everything they had to offer. The pain was sharp, real, with bites that tore at his skin. The reservoir filled. When 3 wolves remained, he released it. Directed, in a wave. Trees within a 5-meter radius were blown away. The wolves vanished. Kai stood at the epicenter with wounds that no longer hurt. The pain had gone into the blast, and thought, I can work with this. He returned to Tern, turned in the quest, received coins. His mother looked at his hands, at the bite scars. Did it hurt? She asked. No, Kai said, a lie, but a white lie. The kind needed not for oneself, but for another person. His mother smiled. Good. Kai was 18 when Derek showed up. Big, loud, with a sword that was too big for most people, but just right for him. A level C quest to clear out a bandit camp east of Tern. Derek was putting together a group. You're the one with accumulation, Derek said. No problem. Yeah. We need a shield, Derek said. Are you in? Kai looked at him. He sized him up. We need a shield. You don't want to join the group. You're not a good adventurer, just a function. Kai could have refused, but being alone was worse. I'm in. The group assembled within a week. Laura was an archer from southern Verone. Red hair, sharp gaze. She could shoot with both hands at once. On the first day, she looked at Kai and said, I've heard about you. They say you don't feel pain. That's not true, said Kai. I do. Then how do you handle it? I'm used to it. Laura nodded. She accepted the answer. At the time, Kai thought it meant respect. Later, he realized she had simply accepted the information as a technical fact about the shield. May is a healer 20 years old from a family of doctors. Small, quiet, with hands that moved quickly and precisely when needed. In the group's first battle, Kai suffered a serious laceration. May treated him silently, professionally. Does it hurt? She asked. No. You're lying. Yes, said Kai. May looked at him. Something in her gaze softened for a second. Then it was professional again. Tell me when it really hurts. It's important for the treatment. Okay. 3 years later. She always asked. He always answered honestly, only to her. He thought it meant something. It turned out to be just a professional habit. Tom was a scout. 22 years old, one of those people who can be almost invisible in a room. He spoke little, he observed a lot. Once during the first month, they were sitting around a campfire after a heavy battle. The others were asleep. Kai couldn't sleep. The pain from his accumulated injuries hadn't fully subsided yet. Tom wasn't sleeping either. He was sitting across from him. You're in pain right now, Tom said. No problem. A little. Why don't you say something? Why should I? Tom stared into the fire. It's not fair, he said. The group should know how everyone is doing. May knows, said Kai. May's a healer. I'm talking about the group. Kai remained silent. You don't say anything because you're afraid they'll say your skills aren't that good, said Tom. A long pause. Yes, said Kai. Tom nodded, without judgment. You're the only honest person in this group, said Tom. That's rare. Kai looked at him. You're being honest right now, too. No, said Tom, I'm just observant. Those are different things. At the time, Kai didn't understand the difference. Later in the darkness underground, he did. Observance without honesty is just a tool, one that can be directed in any direction. Ren is a mage 24 years old, smart with the kind of irony that shields a person better than any armor. Specializes in spatial magic, portals, slowing, distortion. For the first month, he studied Kai as a phenomenon. Your ability violates the basic laws, Ren said. Damage can't just accumulate. It has to go somewhere the moment it's dealt. Where does it go? I don't know, Kai said. You're a one-of-a-kind, do you understand? Ren looked at him with the interest of a scientist who had found an unusual specimen. 1 in a million. That's nice to hear. It's not a compliment, Ren said. It's a fact. I'm just documenting it. Kai laughed then. He thought it was a joke. Ren wasn't joking. The team worked well together. It was a truth Kai couldn't deny even later in the darkness. Despite their hatred, they worked well together. They'd risen from level D to level B in 3 years. Good pace. Tough jobs, good pay. The mechanics were simple. Kai led the way. He took everything. The tank held the line. When the target was weakened, Derek finished it off. Laura covered the flanks with arrows. Tom went on reconnaissance before the fight. May followed. Ren created spatial traps and slowed down strong opponents. It worked. But Kai saw. It wasn't just that he'd spent 4 years around people learning to read. After every battle, Derek would tell a story, in which he struck first, struck harder, decided the outcome. In those stories, Kai was the shield that held firm. A function, not a person. Laura calculated the share. Always, precisely. Her share, Derek's, May's, Tom's, Ren's. Kai was last. Sometimes she asked, "Is that enough for you?" Not because she was worried. Because if it wasn't enough, he might leave and she needed to know in advance. May treated everyone. Kai longer. Because he always had more wounds. She never complained. But Kai noticed, when she treated others, she talked. With Kai, she was silent. Like it was a job. Tom watched. Everyone. Kai too. Once Kai caught his gaze during a fight. Tom wasn't looking at the opponent. He was looking at him, assessing how much more he could take. Ren stopped studying Kai around the 2nd year. The phenomenon had become routine. What's routine ceases to be interesting. Kai saw all of this and kept moving forward because where else could he go? His mother died in the 2nd year, quietly in her sleep. Heart? Kai came to the funeral alone. He returned to the group 3 days later. Derek asked, "Ready to work?" "Ready." No one asked anything else. Kay kept moving forward because there was nothing left behind. A month before the betrayal, a B+ level mission, a magical beast in the Koran Mountains. Seriously, the group knew it would be tough. The battle lasted 4 hours. The beast was huge, armored, with a magical breath of poison. Kai took 3 full breaths of it. The reservoir was close to its limit, almost overflowing. He held on. Derek finished it off in the 4th hour. When it was all over, Kai collapsed. He didn't lose consciousness. His legs just wouldn't hold him. He sat down right onto the wet grass. The reservoir was slowly releasing the remaining poison, dispersing it into the ground. May approached. She examined him. "Your ribs are cracked," she said. "2 of them. The poison has partially worn off despite the buildup." A pause. "A week of recovery, minimum." "We won't be working for a week," Derek said, unhappily. "Those are the conditions," May said flatly. Derek looked at Kai. That look. Kai remembered it. Not anger, worse than that, calculation. The way you look at a tool that broke at an inconvenient moment. "How much longer can we work like this?" Derek said. Not to Kai, but to the others, as if Kai weren't there. Silence. "The skill has its limits," Ren said. "We're approaching level A missions. There, the limit won't be enough." "There are other shields," Derek said. "Not with this skill," said Ren. "With other skills. Ones that don't break after every fight." Kai listened. He sat on the grass 3 meters away. He listened as they discussed him, like an object. Tom caught his gaze for a second, then looked away. Then Kai should have stood up and left. He didn't stand up. He didn't leave. Where to go? The last evening at the tavern in the city of Leros. An ordinary evening. Food, ale, talk of the next mission. Kai sat slightly off to the side, as usual. He ate. He listened to their conversation. Laura was telling a funny story. Kai wasn't paying attention. He watched their faces, the way they laughed. Derek loudly throwing his head back. May quietly covering her mouth with her hand. Ren with that ironic squint. Tom almost imperceptibly, just the corners of his eyes. 4 years, Kai thought. I know how each of you laughs. I know that Derek is afraid of the dark. He never said so, but he always takes an extra torch. I know that Laura writes home every week to her little sister, who's 8. I know that May doesn't sleep on full moons, something personal she's never told anyone. I know that Tom keeps a map he draws himself, every place we've been. I know that Ren reads before bed every night without fail. I know you. May turned around. She saw that he was watching. Kai, come here, she said. What are you doing out there all alone? A warm voice. Familiar. Kai stood up. He walked over. He sat down next to her. The conversation continued. He was asked questions from time to time. He answered. He laughed when appropriate. A normal evening. The last normal evening. The Gareth Forest. Morning was turning into day. The mission, scouting a route for a trade caravan. Simple. Level C. They walked in silence as usual on the march. Kai brought up the rear. He looked at their backs. Familiar, well-known. Laura, a little ahead, turned around. There's an interesting spot up ahead, she said. I saw it when we were coming this way. A pit with a crystal, a rare one, I think. A blood crystal? Ren asked. His voice was slightly different. Kai didn't catch it at the time. Looks like it. Worth checking out, Ren said. Kai didn't sense anything suspicious. They often stopped at interesting finds. They collected rare ingredients, artifacts, information, usually. The pit opened up around the bend. Kai looked at the crystal below. Dark red, pulsating. Beautiful, he thought. Look, Derek said. Come closer. Kai stepped toward the edge. And in the last split second, he felt it. Not movement, not sound. Just something had changed in the air. That silence that comes before. He turned around. He managed to see their faces. Derek pushed him. The fall took a second. The tank absorbed the impact as it hit the bottom. A rib cracked, blood from the gash on his forehead. Hot, fast. Kai lay on his back. He looked up. At the round sky above the pit, 6 silhouettes. Derek, Kai said. His voice was steady. He surprised himself. Derek? Derek looked down. He was silent for a second. Sorry, he said. Dead weight. May. May was looking at the ground. Tom. Tom looked straight ahead. He caught his gaze. Didn't look away, just stared. Empty. Laura. Laura turned away. She was the first to leave. Ren. Ren was already turning away. The first stone fell from above, then dirt. Quickly, efficiently. They had prepared in advance. They had brought shovels. They had prepared in advance. The darkness grew as the pit filled. The last thing Kai saw was the sky. A small circle, the gray sky of early morning, then darkness, then silence, then warmth from below. The crystal found blood and began to grow. Kai lay still. The earth and stones held him tight, arms along his body, legs together. His head was slightly free, a narrow slit on the left let in air. Thin, cold, smelling of wet earth and pine needles. Absolute darkness. Kai was breathing. Count. Count your breaths. Don't think, just count. 1, 2, 3. Warmth from below found the blood on his forehead. The first prick in his right leg. Sharp, thin, like a glass needle. No, Kai said aloud, into the darkness. No, no, no. The accumulation kicked in. Automatically, a reflex. The reservoir took the first jab. The pain remained. The pain always remained. Kai closed his eyes pointlessly in the darkness, but he closed them. Dead weight. All right, we'll see. Silence from above. They're gone. From below, the quiet crackling of a growing crystal. And Kai Ren, betrayed by 4 people he trusted, who was left to die underground with a magical crystal that was slowly piercing his body, made a decision. Not a loud decision, not with a scream or an oath. Quiet, firm. Like a stone, I will get out, and I will find every one of them, without exception. The first crystal grew. The reservoir accumulated. The year was just beginning. The pain was constant, quiet, and unstoppable, like the surf. The crystal grew slowly. It found cracks in the ground, found crevices between the stones, found skin. Thin needles through the clothes, through the skin, inside. The accumulation worked continuously. But something was different from the very beginning. Kai felt it on the third day when the pain dulled slightly. It didn't disappear, it just dulled, as if the body were getting used to it faster than usual. The reservoir was taking it in, but it was also doing something with what it took in, something new. As if the long, continuous damage had triggered a process in the accumulation that hadn't existed before during short battles. Adaptation, Kai thought. The skill is adapting. On the 5th day, it was raining outside. Water seeped through a crack. Kai turned his head. He opened his mouth. He drank slowly, drop by drop, patiently. On the 7th day, the first worm fell right onto his face. Kai closed his mouth, waited, opened it, ate it. Alive, still alive. He counted the days by his dreams. He fell asleep. A day passed. He woke up to a new day. Sometimes he slept twice during what felt like days on end. Sometimes he couldn't fall asleep for a long time. The count wasn't exact, but roughly. Roughly the first month, the crystal had grown to his chest. Kai could feel its shape from the inside, thin branches along his ribs. Some burned more intensely. The intercostal muscles, the crystal found them precisely. The reservoir overflowed and drained into the ground. Kai could feel the soil vibrate with every release, and he noticed that after each release, the reservoir held a little more. It's growing, he realized. The limit is growing. He thought about them. There was nothing else to do in the darkness. Derek. Dead weight. He said it calmly. Not with anger, but with the calmness of a man who had made a decision and carried it out. Composure. Kai respected him for it. Paradoxically, but he respected him. You have to respect a dangerous person's composure to work with them properly. Laura, she left first. That suggested the initiative wasn't hers. She agreed but didn't lead. So she had doubts. Doubt didn't help Kai, but knowing it was important. A weak spot. May. She was staring at the ground. Shame or feigned shame? Kai couldn't tell. 3 years of closeness and he still couldn't tell. That was what annoyed him the most. Tom. He caught his gaze and didn't look away. Empty. Tom, who had said, "You're the only honest person," looked empty, so he'd made his decision long ago. Observance without honesty is just a tool. Ren. He turned away even before Kai shouted. Ren, who had documented him as a phenomenon, no longer needed the phenomenon. He'd found an explanation for the skill, stopped being interesting. 5. No, 4 plus 1, Derek decided. The rest agreed. It doesn't change the outcome. Kai was talking to himself. He was breathing quietly. Day 32, he said. Roughly. Pause. Crystal in my chest. Ribs intact so far. Breathing normally. Pause. 3 worms today. 1 beetle. Not much water. It rained last night. Pause. The reservoir is bigger than it was. That's good. Pause. Derek, Laura, May, Tom, Ren. Names. Repeat every day. Don't forget. A crystal in his shoulders. In his hands. The needles had reached his fingers. Kai no longer felt individual pricks. The pain had become a constant, low background, like a sound that's always there. The accumulation had changed noticeably. The reservoir was now twice as large as it had been before the pit. Kai checked carefully without draining it, just testing the limits. Twice as large, and the quality was different. The damage taken wasn't just lying there as dead weight. It was concentrating. It was becoming denser. Over 4 years of work in the group, the reservoir had grown slowly and predictably. 3 months of continuous damage had doubled it, and it kept going. Dead weight, Derek said. We'll see who's dead weight. And something else. Kai noticed it by accident. A routine discharge into the ground, just another one. But at the moment of discharge, something glowed near the air vent, faintly reddish. The ground around the vent pulsed red. Crystal mana, Kai realized. It seeps into me along with the damage. Red mana, and when I discharge, it leaves too. But some of it remains. He couldn't verify it for sure. There was no mirror, no mage who could read his magical profile. Just a feeling. Something new was growing inside. Slowly, alongside the crystals. Half his body was in crystals. Kai had grown accustomed to sensing their shape from within. Thin, sharp branches, running along the bones like a second structure. Sometimes he thought if he pulled out the crystals and put them together, he'd get an exact cast of his skeleton. Strange thoughts born of loneliness and darkness. The reservoir was now 4 times larger than before the pit. The limit kept growing, not every day in leaps and bounds. After particularly painful waves, the crystal would surge, as if the pain were a key and the reservoir a lock that opened deeper. The red mana was growing too. Kai could already feel it as a separate substance, not an accumulation of something nearby. Something that had taken from the crystal and made its own. He tried to control it carefully through concentration. Nothing. He tried again, imagining a red thread stretching from the reservoir to his finger. The tip of his finger grew warmer, slightly, barely noticeable. There it is, Kai thought. He spent the next week learning to move the red mana, centimeter by centimeter, millimeter by millimeter, in the dark, motionless with crystals in his body. By the end of the 6th month, he could gather a small amount in his fist. When he concentrated, the pain in that area intensified. Red mana and pain went hand in hand. Two ends of the same thread. Pain is fuel, Kai realized, not just damage, pain. The crystal had reached his neck. Kai could feel it at his throat. Thin needles circled his windpipe carefully as if it were alive. They didn't cut off his breath. They circled around it. As if they want me to live. As long as there is blood, the crystal grows. As long as I am alive, there is blood. A symbiosis he hadn't asked for. A 6-fold reservoir. The nature of the accumulated damage had changed radically. Before, it was brute force. Now, dense, concentrated energy. Kai once accidentally released a small portion into the pit wall, too close to the limit. The ground cracked, deeply with the sound that comes from a strong blow with a blunt object. Good, Kai thought. Very good. The red mana now moved obediently, through his body from the center to his limbs. Kai could theoretically amplify the blow. He could wrap his hand in red mana and feel his skin heat up. He could do many things, theoretically. Practice was waiting for its chance. A year. About a year, Kai estimated roughly. But close to a year. The entire space of the pit was filled with crystals. The earth, the stones, the air between them. Everything was permeated with red branches. Kai lay inside like a heart inside a crystalline ribcage. The air slit was still holding, thin, the width of a palm. Kai pressed his face against it when he needed air. There was almost no food. For the last 2 months, only water and rare insects. His body was emaciated, but alive. The accumulation protected his internal organs. The damage from starvation also accumulated, but did not destroy. The reservoir was enormous. Kai couldn't measure it exactly. Just enormous. More than he had ever held in 4 years of work. And the red mana. It permeated every cell. It became a part of his body as naturally as blood. The last crystal. Kai felt it. The main one. The first one from the bottom of the pit had grown and now reached his back, reaching toward his spine. Slowly, unstoppably, it entered. And this pain was different. Not because it was stronger, because it was deeper. As if a year of pain had gathered at a single point and struck from there. From the very center. Kai didn't scream. There was no point in screaming. He just breathed in short, sharp gasps through a narrow slit. The accumulation was at its limit. Even the expanded reservoir was trembling. This is the end, Kai thought. A year. I held out for a year, and this is the end. He closed his eyes. Derek, Laura, May, Tom, Ren. Too bad. The last crystal cracked, quietly, like ice cracking in spring. Then a chain reaction. One by one, the crystals shattered, from the last to the first. A wave of disintegration through his whole body, through the entire pit. Each crystal burst with a short sound and crumbled into red dust that melted instantly. The pain vanished all at once. The absence of pain was almost unbearable after a year of living with it. Like silence after a roar. Kai lay in the space that had formed. Small, just enough to move his hand. His hand? Kai moved his right hand. It works. Slowly, with the creak of joints that hadn't moved in a year, he raised his hand. Reached forward, felt the earth above him. Loose. The crystals had crumbled. The structure had weakened. There. Here was his chance. Kai began to dig. He dug with his right hand. Slowly, his fingers were weak after a year without movement. Dirt fell onto his face, into his mouth. He spat it out. He kept going. A centimeter, another centimeter. Red mana flowed into his hand of its own accord. Kai didn't ask for it. It just came. Like blood flowing to a wound. His fingers warmed up. They grew firmer. Digging became easier. Red mana strengthens the body, Kai realized. It compensates for exhaustion. He dug. An hour, maybe 2. He had no sense of time. Then cold. A different kind of cold, not the Earth's. Air? The night air of the Gareth forest. His hand emerged. Kai lay underground with one hand outside, breathing. Just breathing. Real air, smelling of pine needles, moisture, and the living forest. He cried without realizing it. The tears flowed on their own. Then he began to widen the opening. Shoulder, head, chest. Slowly, very slowly. Red mana held his body, preventing him from collapsing from exhaustion. When he crawled out completely, he fell to the ground and lay face down. Grass. Cold, damp, real. The forest around him was quiet. Night. The moon through the branches. Kai lay there for a long time. Then he slowly stood up. His legs held him weakly, shaking, but they held him. He looked at his hands. Skin and bones. His clothes were tattered, in rags. His skin was pale with thin red veins where the crystals had been. Not deep, just superficial, like tattoos. Red lines along his veins. The red mana had left a mark. Kai clenched his fist. The red lines glowed. Faintly, for a second. Good. He looked at the pit behind him. At the dark hole in the ground. A year. He had lain there for a year, breathing through a crack the width of a palm, eating worms and beetles, drinking rainwater drop by drop, taking in pain continuously and feeding it to the reservoir. And the reservoir grew, and the red mana entered it and became his. Dead weight. For the first time in a year, Kai Ren stood on his feet and breathed fresh air. He took his first step, second, third, heading south, toward the city of Leros, the last city where they had been together. Derek, Laura, May, Tom, Ren. I'm going. It's a 3-day walk to Leros. Kai covered it in 5. His body didn't obey him like it used to. His muscles were atrophied, a year without movement. Every step took effort. The red mana didn't fully compensate, but it was enough to keep going. Without it, I would have collapsed within the first kilometer. The first day was nothing but forest. Kai walked slowly, holding onto the trees. He fell twice. He got back up. He ate sour, autumn berries. He drank from the stream lying on his stomach, like an animal. Not bad, he thought. It had been worse. On the second day, he stumbled upon a trail, a narrow trade route. He walked along it. By noon, a cart, a merchant from the north, elderly with the look of people who've seen it all and stopped being surprised. He stopped. He looked at Kai, at his rags, at the red streaks on his skin, at his sunken cheeks. Alive? The merchant asked. Alive. You look like a corpse. I'm working on it. The merchant paused. Teleros? Yes, get in, but don't get in my way. I don't need any trouble. Kai got into the cart. On top of the sacks of grain, dry, warm. He fell asleep right there for the first time in a year with the sensation that there was something beneath him other than earth and stones. He woke up when the merchant touched his shoulder. Leros. Leros hadn't changed. A medium-sized port city with the noise of the markets and the smell of roasted meat that Kai remembered. Signs, people, carts. An ordinary day in an ordinary city. Kai stood at the gate and watched. A year, he thought. A year for me. Just a year for them. They lived, they worked, they ate, they slept. While I was in the pit. Anger rose, sharp, pure, unadulterated. Kai suppressed it. Not now. Anger is a tool. Tools are taken out when needed, not before. Information first. Found a public bathhouse. A merchant woman at the gate gave him a copper coin, looking at him with pity. Washed himself, for the first time in a year. Looked at his body in the water, very thin. His ribs were visible, but there were red streaks along his veins, along the lines where the crystals had been. On his arms, on his chest, on his neck. Thin, distinct, like an engraving. He clenched his fist underwater. The water around his fist turned reddish for a second. Mana had colored it. Good. He found clothes at a market stall, cheap ones. Simple pants, a shirt, a jacket. He paid with the last thing he found among the remnants of his old clothes. A small knife, which the merchant took willingly. Food. Bread and soup at a cheap tavern on the outskirts. Kai ate slowly. His stomach, unaccustomed to it, took it. He ate anyway. More slowly. Then came the information. The tavern where the group always stayed in Leros. Kai knew that going there looking the way he did meant being noticed. But he also knew it was the best place for rumors. Taverns remember adventurers. He went in, sat in a corner, ordered an ale but didn't drink it. He held it for show. He listened. An hour of ordinary conversation. Business, the weather, local news. Then 2 adventurers at the next table. Have you heard the Steelblade group broke up? When? About 8 months ago, after their shield disappeared. Kai didn't move. He listened. Disappeared? Well, sort of disappeared. They said it was an accident in Gareth Forest. They found blood but no other traces. They blamed it on a monster. So what about the group? Well, what else? Without the shield, they're just an ordinary foursome. Derek and Laura had a falling out over the split. They went their separate ways. May left for Taryn, a hospital opened there, and they hired her as a senior healer. They say Tom defected to the mercenary guild. He's a loner now. Pause. Ren seems to have headed to the capital, to the academy, as a researcher. And Derek? Derek is here, in Laros. He's putting together a new group? I heard he's recruiting people for a level A mission. A rank without a proper shield? His problem. Kai set his mug down on the table. Derek is here, in Laros, recruiting a group. Coincidence? No, it just worked out that way. Alright, let's start with him. Kai spent 3 days in Laros before taking action. Not out of caution, but out of necessity. His body needed to recover, at least minimally. Food, sleep, movement. Exercises every day. He started small. Arms, legs, balance. Red mana helped speed up recovery. Kai felt it flow through his muscles. Warm, sharp. The pain from the exertion was immediately absorbed by the accumulation. Now I'm training twice as fast, he realized. Any pain from exertion goes into the reservoir. My muscles don't hurt. Recovery is faster. By the 3rd day, he could move normally, not like before, but normally. He also trained his red mana. He found an abandoned yard on the outskirts. He worked there at night. He gathered mana into his fist. He struck a wooden fence. With the first blow, the wood cracked. Stronger than before. The second one broke a board. The third one knocked out a whole section of the fence. The wood scattered into splinters. Kai looked at the breach. A year's accumulation had built up a huge reservoir. Red mana allowed him to use it precisely, not just in explosive bursts like before. Now he could direct it, into a strike, into defense, into a specific spot. Something else new. Kai noticed it by accident. He struck a rock. Red mana enveloped his fist. The rock cracked, but it also cracked with red lines. The mana passed through his fist into the rock. It left a mark. Transmission, Kai realized? I can transmit red mana into an object, into a person. What is this, he wondered. The accumulation absorbed damage. Red mana could return it, directly, precisely. I've changed, Kai realized. The shield had become a weapon. On the 3rd night, he found Derek. Derek was renting a room at the Copper Anchor. A nice one, not cheap. So he had money. A year without Kai hadn't let them go to waste. Kai found out through conversations. He just listened to what people were saying in the taverns. Derek was assembling a group for a mission to map the dungeon to the north. Level A. Good money. He needed a shield. Specifically a shield. He'd been looking for a week but hadn't found a suitable one. Irony, Kai thought. That night, Derek was returning from the tavern to his room. Alone, Kai was waiting in the alley. His steps were heavy, confident. Derek always walked like that. Like a man who commands the space, he came around the corner. Derek. Derek stopped. He looked, just a silhouette in the darkness of the alley. He didn't recognize him. Who's there? You don't recognize me. Derek stepped closer. Light from the tavern window fell on Kai's face. Derek froze. Silence. Long. You... Derek began. Alive, Kai said. Yes. Derek took a step back, hand on the hilt of his sword. Don't, Kai said. You can't be... Alive? Kay, why? Didn't you bury me deep enough? Derek drew his sword. Quickly. Professionally. For 4 years, Kay had watched him do it quickly, always. He lunged straight ahead, aiming for the head, his style. Always straight, always force. Kay didn't back down. He took the blow flat with his sword on his shoulder. The reserve absorbed the blow instantly. There was pain. The reserve took it. Derek watched. His sword was knocked back. The force of the blow reverberated through the hilt. He started. Kai struck. Right fist. Red mana gathered, concentrated. Not a full power strike. A quarter of the reservoir. Derek flew into the alley wall, back first. The wall cracked, slid down. He sat there. He watched. What's wrong with you? Derek said hoarsely. What kind of mana? Your gift, Kai said. A year in the pit with the blood crystal. You knew what you were throwing in there. Derek was silent. Who came up with it? Kai asked. Exactly. You or Ren. Pause. Ren came up with it. I agreed, Derek said, without hesitation. He'd always been straightforward. That trait remained. The others? Everyone agreed. No one refused. May... A slightly longer pause. May was the last, so she had doubts. But she didn't stop it. Kai looked at him. Derek sat against the wall. Without his sword, it lay 3 meters away. Kai stood between him and the sword. You're going to kill me, Derek said. No question. Yes, then do it. Kai looked at him. At that calmness. Derek accepted it just as he accepted everything. Straightforward, without hesitation. Not now, said Kai. Derek looked up. For the first time, confusion on his face. What? The others first, said Kai. You know where everyone is. You'll tell me. I won't. Kai crouched down in front of him. At eye level. Derek, he said quietly. I lay in the ground for a year and ate worms. For a year I endured the pain your bloody crystal inflicted non-stop. Pause. Do you think I can't make you talk? Silence. Maytairn the hospital, said Derek. Exactly. Tom from the Grey Cloak Guild here in Laros. Ren, the capital, the Academy of Magic, the research building. Laura, I don't know. She went east after the fight. I heard Miros, the port city. Kai stood up. Tom is here, he said. Yeah, okay. He turned around. Kai, Derek said. He stopped. Didn't turn around. You've changed. Yeah, Pause. A long one. I didn't think you'd make it out, I know. If I had thought, you would have quit anyway, Kai said. Just differently. Silence. Kai walked away. You'll come back, Derek said to his back. Yeah, I'll be waiting. Kai stopped for a second, surprised, then walked on. Derek is waiting, accepting, not running. It doesn't change anything, but it's interesting. The Grey Cloak Guild is an unofficial guild of adventurers, mercenaries, a different profile, reconnaissance, surveillance, quiet missions. Tom found his place. Kai spent a day finding out where Tom lives. Not a guild address, but a personal one. Tom had always been cautious. He rented a room in a quiet neighborhood under a different name. But 4 years together, Kai knew his habits. Tom always chose corner rooms, always the second floor, no higher, always near a back exit. 3 such options in the quiet neighborhood. Kai checked all 3. The second one was the right one. He saw a silhouette in the window at the right time of evening. Tom always had dinner at 7. He arrived at midnight. Tom wasn't asleep. Kai knew that. Tom never went to sleep before midnight. He was either reading or sharpening a knife, one of the two. He climbed up the drain pipe. Carefully, quietly. The red mana in his fingers gave him traction on the surface. The window was slightly open. Tom always slept with the window slightly open. He went inside. Tom was sitting at the table with a book, with his back to the window. I knew you'd come, Tom said. He didn't turn around. Kai froze. When? He asked. 3 days ago, someone started asking about our group in the taverns. Tom closed the book. Slowly. Carefully, but not quietly enough for a quiet neighborhood. A pause. I recognized the style. My style. Yours. Tom turned around. He looked at Kai, at the veins, at what he had become. A long silence. A year, Tom said. A year. The blood crystal usually kills in a week. I'm not usual. No, Tom agreed. Never was. He stood up, slowly, hands in plain sight, not on the knife. I won't defend myself, he said. I know, you came to kill. Yes, Tom nodded, calmly, as if they were discussing the weather. You want to know if I regretted it, he said. Regretted, or do you regret that it didn't work out? Both, Tom said honestly. Not right away. Later. Yes. Pause. When the group fell apart. When it became clear that without you, we were just 4 people without a center. Without a shield. Without a person, Tom corrected. Those are different things. I realized that later. You realized it, but you didn't stop it then. No. Why? Tom looked at him. Because I'm observant, he said. Not honest. I told you myself. That conversation by the campfire. A year ago, or 4 years ago, depending on how you count. Kai looked at him. Tom stood up straight, hands in plain sight, accepting. Derek said you're in the mercenary guild, Kai said. Yes, do you work well? Fine. How many missions a year? Tom frowned slightly. He didn't understand where this was going. 12, all completed. Kai paused. You're the best scout I've ever known, he said finally. That won't help me now. No, Kai agreed. It won't. He raised his right hand. Red mana gathered. It glowed through his skin. Tom watched, without fear, with the same emptiness Kai had seen above the pit. Wait, Tom said. No, one word. Pause. Speak. Laura, Tom said. She's in Miros, but she's not alone. Her sister is there, the younger one, the one she wrote to every week. Pause. 8 years old then. 9 now. I know about the sister. Then you know that by killing Laura, you're killing the only person in her life, Tom said. I'm not asking for mercy for her. I'm just saying, know what you're getting into. A long silence. Is that all? Kai asked. All. Kai lowered his hand. Tom was surprised for the first time during the conversation. Genuine surprise. Why? Not now, Kai said. I still need you. I need information about Renee at the academy. The Grey Cloak Guild has connections in the capital. Tom looked at him for a long time. You want to use me? Yes? And then we'll see, said Kai. It depends on how you perform. Tom was silent. Then he nodded. All right, he said. What do I need to know about Renee? Tom worked the following week. Kai waited. He recovered. He trained his red mana and accumulation. A new discovery every morning. He realized he could sense damage from a distance. Not see it, but sense it. As a magical wave approached, as a sword swung a second before contact, the reservoir was already preparing to receive it. A premonition of damage, he called it to himself. Before it was a reaction, now a pre-reaction. He trained red mana in attack. He found that just amplifying the blow, mana could work subtly. It was possible to send a thin thread into an object and destroy it from within. Slowly, imperceptibly. A tree crumbled into sawdust in a few seconds. A stone crumbled. It's different with people, Kai thought. I won't test it until I have to. Tom brought the information on the 5th day. He came by himself at night to the cheap room Kai had rented. He sat down. He laid out the notes. Ren So, Tom said. In the capital of Verona, Kane, the Academy of Magic, Research Corps. Specialization, rare skills and their magical structure. Pause. Publishes papers, 3 a year. One of them is about accumulation. Kai paused. About accumulation. Yes, said Tom. It's titled The Phenomenon of Mana Absorption, the Case of a Unique Bearer. It describes the skill, the mechanics, the limits. Pause. Without naming the bearer, but recognizable to those who know. Ren, who spent 4 years studying Kai as a phenomenon, who turned away from the pit before anyone else, who wrote a scientific paper about the skill of the man he left to die? Cold-bloodedly, without malice, just use the data. Kai felt the anger he'd been suppressing rise again. Sharper than Derek's. Because Derek is honest. He used him and didn't pretend he didn't. Ren used him and kept using him, from beyond the grave. More, Kai said flatly. Ren has the Academy's protection, Tom said. You can't just walk in and take it. The Academy is protected by magic. Veron's best shields are there. Pause. Besides, he has personal guards, 2 mage guards, serious ones. Why does a researcher have personal guards? Because his work is valuable, Tom said. And because he knew you could survive. Kai looked at him. He knew? He wrote it in his journal. Our agent made a copy. Tom pulled out a sheet of paper. About 3 months after the pit. Quote, theoretically, the subject's ability could adapt to the continuous damage from the blood crystal. The odds are slim, about 3%. But the subject has always been an exception to the statistics. I took precautions, 3%. Ren calculated the 3% and took measures. What measures? Kai asked. Security, Tom said. And a report to the Hunters Guild, anonymously. A description of Kai Ren as a dangerous deserter and adventurer. A bounty for his capture. Small but enough that any adventurer would report him upon encountering him. Ren, 3% and he was already getting ready. Smart. He was always smart. Okay, said Kai. I need a plan to get into the Academy. Tom looked at him. That's at least a level A, I know. You're on your own. See you later, Kai said. Tom was silent. I can help with the plan, he said cautiously. Why? Because it's my duty, Tom said. Simple. I'm not making up a fancier reason, just duty. Kai looked at him for a long time. Get to work, he said finally. Find out everything about the Academy. Layout, security, routes. 1 week, I'll do it. Kai trained every night. He found an abandoned warehouse near the port. He worked there. As he trained, new abilities unlocked every day. He realized he could control the absorption rate. Before it was automatic, whatever came his way. Now he could slow it down. Let some damage pass through his body as usual to distract the enemy. Let them think they'd broken through his defense. Red mana, 3 uses now, clearly defined. First enhancement, gather it into a limb and strike. The damage is exponentially higher. The more mana, the higher the damage. I haven't tested the limit yet. Second, transfer. Send a threat into the target, destroy it from within. Haven't tested this on people. But theoretically, it would stop a heart or destroy the magical structure of an opponent's skill. Third, shield. New. Discovered it by accident when a stone fell on my shoulder. Mana gathered at the point of impact on its own. Formed a dense layer. The stone bounced off. An active shield, Kai realized. It passively absorbs mana. Red mana can actively deflect it. 3 uses. There are surely more, I just haven't discovered them yet. A year, he thought. For a year they lived peacefully, worked, ate, slept, while I was in the pit. Now it's my turn. On the 6th day, Tom brought a map of the Academy. Detailed. With guard routes, the location of the magic shields, and Ren's personal schedule. Kai studied it for 4 hours, then he looked up. Tomorrow, he said. Are you sure? Yes. Tom nodded. He stood up to leave. Tom, said Kai. He stopped. You betrayed me, said Kai. That won't change. Remember. I remember. Good. Tom left. Kai was left alone. He looked at the map of the academy. Outside the window was Laros. Night. The lights of the harbor, the smell of the sea, the voices of drunks in the tavern across the street. The ordinary world. Derek is waiting at the copper anchor. Tom is working. May is in Terran. Laura is in Miros with her sister. Ren is in the capital behind magical shields. 5 of them, one by one or all at once, but Ren first. The clever are always more dangerous than the strong. The clever are killed first. Kai made a plan. He put it away. He went to sleep. For the first time in a year, without earth above his head, without crystals in his body, without pain as a backdrop. Just silence. Derek, Laura, May, Tom, Ren. He fell asleep. 4 days ride to Caen. Kai bought the horse with the money Tom had silently placed on the table without explanation. Kai took it without saying thank you. Not because he was ungrateful, it was just that words of gratitude would have felt false between them. He rode alone. The road to the capital was wide and bustling with trade. Carts, merchants, travelers. The ordinary life of an ordinary kingdom. Kai rode and watched. In the year he'd spent in the pit, he'd managed to forget what the horizon looked like. How the sky changes from dawn to dusk. How the grass smells after the rain. Little things you only notice when you lose them. On the second day, the small town of Tivos. He spent the night in a tavern. That's where the first incident happened. The tavern was ordinary. Kai sat with his food in a corner. Quiet. He wasn't drawing attention. He drew it anyway. 3 young adventurers, C rank judging by their patches, were watching from the other end of the hall. For a long time, whispering to each other. Ren's wanted poster, Kai realized. A description of a dangerous deserter. It's working. He stood up slowly, left some coins on the table. He walked toward the exit. Hey, said one of the 3. Kai didn't stop. Hey, I said. Red stripes on your arms? Are you that adventurer with the bounty? Kai stopped at the door. He turned around. No, you look like him. Lots of people look like other people, said Kai. The oldest of the 3, broad-shouldered and with a 2-handed sword on his back, stood up. The guild asked us to report it. We'll report it. Wait until they arrive. I won't wait. Then we'll detain you by force. His defenses activated automatically. A premonition of danger kicked in. The eldest was already calculating the distance, his hand reaching for the hilt. Kai assessed the situation. 3 of them. Level C. Serious opponents for an ordinary adventurer. Not for him right now, but there's no need to make a fuss. Ren has informants. Word will spread quickly. Listen, Kai said calmly. You're young. I understand you want money, but look at me closely and think about whether it's worth it. The leader looked. Red veins on his skin. The calmness of a man who isn't afraid. A gaze that had seen something they hadn't. A moment's hesitation. It's worth it, he decided. He drew his sword. Young, Kai thought. Too bad. He stepped forward to meet the blow, not back. He took the first strike with the flat of his forearm. The reservoir absorbed it easily. He barely felt it. He grabbed the arm. Minimal red mana, only in the palm. He squeezed the wrist. The older one cried out. He dropped the sword. He dropped to one knee. The wrist is fine, Kai said. It hurts. Yes, it's not broken. He let go. I'm going my way. You go yours. Deal? The other 2 stood there. They didn't move. The older one looked up. He rubbed his wrist. He was assessing something. Deal, he said hoarsely. Kai walked out. He stopped in the street. He surprised himself. He could have struck with full force. He could have used red mana like he did with Derek. He could have done a lot. He didn't. They were just doing their job, Kai thought. Young adventurers for coins. They aren't the enemies. The enemies are the 5. The rest were just the world. Don't destroy the world for the sake of 5. He mounted his horse. He rode on. The capital of Veron was large. Kai had been here twice with a level B mission group. They came quickly and left quickly. He hadn't had time to remember the details. Now he had more time. Kane lived a bustling, multi-layered life. The merchant districts, the noble streets, the guild district, the riverport, and towering over it all, the Academy of Magic. On a hill with white towers visible from every corner of the city. Kai looked at the towers. Ren was there. He rented a room in the merchant quarter, a cheap one for 3 days. He bought food. He studied the map Tom had given him. The academy was a difficult target. Magical shields along the perimeter reacted to hostile intentions. A smart shield, not a simple one. Not walls or guards, but intentions specifically. If you tried to enter with the intent to cause harm, the shield would activate immediately. Ren had 2 mage guards. One specializes in spatial blocking, portals, teleportation, escape routes. The second is a combat mage, fire school, high level. Ren's personal schedule, mornings in the lab, lunch in the academy's common dining hall, evenings in seminars, or working in the library. Once a week, he goes into town, to the bookstore in the academic quarter. Here, tomorrow is Tuesday, the day Ren goes to the bookstore. Outside the academy without shields. Morning, the academic quarter. Kai stood by a street vendor selling pies across from the Third Eye bookstore. He was eating, watching. The quarter was quiet. Students, professors, vendors specializing in magical artifacts and books. Respectable people in expensive clothes. Kai in a simple, long-sleeved jacket. His veins were hidden. Ren showed up at 10 in the morning. He had changed. 4 years ago, he was slender with the look of a man who thinks faster than he speaks. Now he had the same slenderness, but with added confidence. The confidence of a man who has status and protection. He was well-dressed. The academy ring on his right hand was gold with a blue stone, the mark of a researcher. Behind him were 2 men, guards. Kai studied them as they walked from the academy gates to the shop. The first is tall in a gray cloak. He moved quietly, his gaze constantly darting from side to side. Spatial mage Tom described him as Arte, a former military mage specializing in zone blocking. The second is stocky with reddish hair. His arms were always slightly apart, ready to channel fire quickly. Tom called him Wes, a freelance mage who had been with Ren for 2 years. Both were serious, both were watching the crowd professionally. You can't just walk up to Ren while the guards are nearby. Kai waited. Ren entered the shop. The guards remained at the entrance. There. Kai waited 5 minutes. He let Ren go deeper into the shop. It was large with several rooms lined with bookshelves. He went in. The owner behind the counter nodded. A regular customer. He walked into the far room. Ren stood by the shelf with magical treatises. He was reading the table of contents. A familiar gesture, Kai had seen it 1,000 times. Ren always read the table of contents before picking up a book. Kai approached. He stood beside him. He took a book from the shelf. He opened it. An interesting section, he said quietly. Magical structures of rare skills. Ren didn't turn around right away. He finished reading the line. Then he slowly turned his head. He saw it. He turned pale. Not like Derek, who turned instantly with a start. Ren turned pale slowly, like a man whose internal calculations had kicked in and shown an unpleasant result. 3%, Kai said quietly. Ren didn't finish. 3%, and you took action anyway. Smart. Pause, not enough. Ren moved quickly. His mouth opened to shout to the guard. Kai was faster. A step forward, a hand on his shoulder, he sent a thin red thread into his collarbone. Not destructive, just pressing on a nerve. Ren froze, mouth open but silent. The nerve responsible for his voice was under light pressure from mana. Quiet, Kai said. You can speak. You can't scream. Not while I'm holding you. Ren stared at him. His eyes were calculating. Even now, analyzing. Red mana, Ren said quietly, hoarsely, from the crystal. You absorbed it. Yes. Phenomenal, Ren said. And there was no fear in his voice. Interest? This is the first documented case of a living host absorbing the mana of a blood crystal. This is... Ren, Kai said. What? You wrote a paper on my ability while I was in the pit. Yes. You used data from a man you left to die. Technically, yes, Ren said, without remorse. Purely technically. Kai looked at him. That's Ren. The coldest of them all. Not evil, just that people were data to him. Why, Kai asked. Then, why did you agree? Because Derek deemed you a non-viable asset and proposed a solution, Ren said. I analyzed it. I agreed with the conclusion. A non-viable asset, Kai repeated. Yes, pause. I miscalculated. Another pause. You were never non-viable. I underestimated the adaptability of the skill. Do you regret quitting, or just that the calculation was wrong? Ren paused for a long time. The latter, he said honestly. Of course, I'll give you a choice, said Kai. Ren was surprised. He hit it quickly. A choice. You have work on my skill, said Kai. Data, observations, conclusions. Pause. Now there's new data, red mana. Reservoir adaptation. Everything that's happened over the past year. Pause. You want to study this? I do, Ren said without hesitation. Then here's the condition, Kai said. You help me with the rest. Information, access, academy connections. Pause. In exchange for data. Anything you want to study. Ren was silent. You could have killed me, he said. I could have. Why don't you? Because you're smart, Kai said. And it's more useful to use a smart person than to kill them. Ren looked at him. Something in his gaze had changed. Subtly, barely noticeably. Something like respect, but not quite respect. More like acknowledgement. You've changed, Ren said. A year in the pit changes a man. No, that's not it. Ren. Before you were a shield who thought like a shield. You accepted others' decisions. You went where they led you. Pause. Now you think like a strategist. Do you accept the terms? Pause. I accept, said Ren. Kai took his hand off his shoulder. The thread of red mana dissolved. Ren rubbed his collarbone. He winced. It hurts, he remarked. Yes, you knew you were hitting a nerve. For a year I felt a crystal piercing every nerve in my body, Kai said. I know anatomy from the inside. Ren looked at him. Phenomenal, he said again. And this time quietly, almost to himself. They went out together. Wes and Arte saw Kai at the entrance. They tensed immediately, hands in position. Rensi, said Wes. Eyes on Kai. Step back. It's okay, said Ren. This is the subject from... It's okay, Ren repeated. He's with me. Wes didn't relax. He stared at the red veins on Kai's neck. The mage's professional gaze read the mana. Red mana, Wes said quietly to Arte. Aggressive structure. I hear you, said Arte. Rensi, with all due respect, this is dangerous. I said everything's fine, Ren snapped. This is a change in security protocols. We'll discuss it at the academy. Kai stood still. He didn't move. He looked at the guard calmly. Wes didn't look away. A professional. He was assessing. His damage prediction went off. Wes was gathering mana for a quick cast. He hadn't decided yet, but he was gathering it. Vessi, Kai said quietly. Ves froze. He was surprised that Kai had called him by name. You gather mana well, Kai said. Quickly. 3 seconds for a full fire spell is good. Pause. But I started absorbing it 2 seconds before you started gathering. Pause. It's math, not a threat. Silence. Vez slowly lowered his hands. What kind of skill is that? He said quietly. Accumulation, said Kai. Did you hear that? I heard. Vez looked at the veins, but that's not what I've heard about accumulation. A year of updates. Arte was silent. He looked at Ren. Ren, see, he said. Are you sure? Absolutely, Ren said. Let's go. Ren led Kai through the side entrance for staff. The magical shields at the gate activated. Kai felt something touch his lungs, scanning. The shield was reading intentions. He removed the intention to kill Ren. Technically removed it. Replaced it with the intention to cooperate. The shield let him through. Ren looked back. You blocked the intention. Yes, the Academy's shields read a 3-level structure of intentions. Most people block the first, superficial level. The shield reads the second and the third. I know. How do you know? Tom gave me the plan, Kai said. It had a description, and you blocked all 3 levels. Yes. Ren was silent for a second. Your control over red mana is already at a level that allows you to work with subtle structures. Phenomenal for a year. I had a lot of time to practice, Kai said. Ren looked at him. He understood the irony. He said nothing. They walked through the Academy's corridors. Students and faculty stared at Kai. Not aggressively, just an unfamiliar face. Ren's lab was on the 3rd floor, spacious with tall windows. Books, notes, magical devices Kai didn't by name. On one of the tables was a manuscript. Kai saw the title. The Phenomenon of Mana Absorption. The Case of a Unique Host. Part 2. Hypothetical Development. You're already writing the second part, said Kai. I was writing it, said Ren. Theoretically, now the data is real. He sat down at the table. He picked up a pen. Shall we begin? He asked. First, information about May and Laura, said Kai. Then the data, May and Taryn, you know her. More details. Chief healer at the Tyrna Hospital. A good position. Ren. The hospital is funded by the city council. May is in the spotlight there. She's an important figure for the city. So touching her would cause a scandal. Yes, okay. Laura. Laura is more complicated, Ren said. We lose track of her after Miros. The last I heard, she took a mission in the east. A solo mission. Level B. 3 months ago? She didn't come back? Unknown. Kai thought it over. Find her, he said. The Academy has an information network, Ren said. It'll take a few days. Okay. Pause. Kai, Ren said. What? You're going to kill them all? Yes, including me after you're done with the rest. Kai looked at him. That depends on you, he said. On my usefulness. On your actions. Ren watched, analyzed. You're giving me a chance, he said. Not out of kindness, out of calculation. Yes? Honestly, said Ren, that's fair. Pause. I work better under fair conditions. I know. Ren opened a new page. Then let's start with a description of the physical changes, he said. The streaks. When they appeared, how they developed. Kai spent 3 days in Ren's lab. Ren studied. Meticulously, methodically. He asked precise questions without unnecessary words. He wrote down every word. Kai answered. In detail, without hiding anything. A deal is a deal. At the same time, he trained. Ren set aside a closed courtyard next to the lab for experiments with red mana. There, Kai discovered the 4th application. By accident. Ren watched from the window. Kai worked with the transmission, sending a thread into the stone wall. The wall crumbled, but at some point Kai tried not to destroy but to fill. The thread went into the stone and remained there. It didn't destroy it, it settled inside. Kai felt the stone through the thread. Its structure, cracks, density. Probing, he realized. I can sense an object from the inside through the thread. On a person, he could sense the state of the body. Where there was a wound, where there was tension, where there was skill. Ren was at the window and saw everything. He ran downstairs a minute later. You just performed a diagnostic probe, he said. His breathing was slightly ragged from the quick descent or from excitement. Red mana as a sensory tool. That isn't described anywhere. Nowhere, do you understand? I understand. Do you realize how unique you are? The Oracle said so, Kai said. 1 in a million. No, Ren said. Back then, yes, 1 in a million. Now just one. Simply one. There is no other. Kai looked at him. Ren, who a year ago wrote a paper about a man who, according to his calculations, was dead. Who didn't regret his decision. Who accepted the condition not out of conscience, but out of interest. And who is now telling the truth, because that is his nature. Data is more important than anything, even more important than self-justification. A complicated man. On the 3rd day, Ren brought information about Laura. Evening, the lab. Ren placed a sheet of paper on the table. Laura Say, he said. She completed the mission in the East 3 months ago. She returned to Miros. Pause, but after returning, she didn't register with the guild. She lives quietly. Sister? Her sister is there too, 10 years old now, attends school. Pause. Laura rents a house in a quiet neighborhood in Miros. She isn't taking on new assignments, she lives off her savings. How much does she have? According to my calculations, 3 months, 4 at most. Ren, then she'll have to work. Kai looked at the sheet. You're thinking about your sister, Ren said. Yes, that affects the decision. Yes. Ren was silent. Then, can I ask? Ask away. You hate Laura just as much as the rest of them. A long pause. Laura left first, Kai said. She didn't watch him fall. Pause. The others watched. Derek was talking. Tom didn't move. May stood there. Ren turned away. Another pause. Laura left because she couldn't watch. Does that make her less guilty? It makes her different, Kai said, from the rest. Ren thought. An interesting nuance, he said. A nuance to you. To me, it's important. Ren nodded. He accepted the difference. Kai was packing at night. There wasn't much to take. The money Ren gave was enough for the trip. The information was in his head. Ren walked in. Where first, he asked. Tarn, May. Then Meros, Laura, Derek last. Yes? Ren was silent. You said it depends on actions, he said. My actions over these 3 days. Yes, they changed the decision. Kai looked at him. Ren, he said. You helped because you're curious. Not because you repented. Not because you realized you'd done something wrong. Yes, that's honest, Kai said. You've always been honest by nature. Pause, but you helped. It worked. The information was accurate. Is that so? That's how you live, Kai said. Bye. Bye doesn't sound like a final pardon. No, Kai agreed. Not final. Ren nodded. He accepted that too. Kai? He said when Kai was already at the door. What? The work I'm writing, the second part. I want to add a section there about the carrier's psychological transformation. Pause. About how a year in the pit changed not just a skill, a person. Kai stood at the door. Write it, he said, but be honest, not a non-viable asset of a person. Pause. Honestly, Ren said. Kai left. Tarn, 2 days west. The road ran along the Sur River, wide and calm with those long reflections of the banks that only appear in autumn. Kai rode and thought about May. Of the 5, she was the most complex in his mind. Not Ren with his cold logic, not Derek with his straightforward calculation, not Tom with his observation without honesty, not Laura who left May, who healed, for 3 years. Who asked, "Does it hurt?" every time. Who knew Kai was lying when he said no and didn't press him, just accepted it. She looked at the ground. She didn't leave. She didn't look away. She looked at the ground. Shame, or something like shame. But she didn't stop him. The town was smaller than Leros. Quiet, provincial. The hospital in the center, a large building of lightstone with the symbol of the Healers Guild above the entrance. Kai didn't go to the hospital right away. He watched the day go by. May went out twice at lunchtime, briefly to a small shop across the street. And home in the evening. She lived a 5-minute walk from the hospital. Alone. She looked tired. Not unwell, just tired. The kind of tiredness that builds up from work that demands a lot and that you chose yourself. The hospital's chief healer. She used to treat adventurers, now the whole town. A good job for her, Kai thought. Suitable. On the second evening, he went to her house. May opened the door and froze. She looked at him. A long silence. "Kai," she said finally. Quietly. "May." Kai could read her face well. 4 years together. There was fear, but beneath the fear, something else. What he had seen above the pit. Shame. Real, unfulfilled. "Will you come in?" she asked. Kai was surprised by the question. Yes. A small house, clean, simple. A stack of medical books on the table. A pot of herbs on the windowsill. Healing herbs for work. May didn't light any extra candles. They sat down at the table by the light of one. "A year," she said. "A year." "I thought you were dead," May said. "I didn't want to think so, but I did. Did you want to?" A long pause. "Sometimes yes," she said. "If he's dead, that means he won't come back. That means I can move on." A pause, but I couldn't move on. Another pause. Nightmares. About once a week, about the pit. "About your face," said May. "When you were screaming my name." Pause. "You were calling me. I didn't answer." Kai looked at her. She remembers that. He called her thinking she'd stop him. Out of all 5 of them, he thought May would stop him. She stared at the ground. "Why didn't you stop him?" Kai asked. May stared at the candle. Derek said the group decided. A vote. 4-1. Her voice was steady, but her hands clenched on the table. "I was against it. The only one against it." 4-1, Kai repeated. Derek, Ren, Tom, Laura were for it. I was against it. Pause. Derek said the majority decides. You either go along or leave the group. Silence. "And you stayed," Kai said. "Yes." "Why?" May was silent for a long time. "Because I was scared," she finally said. Quietly, with that tone of voice you get when you tell a truth you've been hiding for a long time. "Alone without the group. I'm not a combat specialist, a healer. I won't survive serious missions without the group." Pause. "I chose myself, my own safety, over yours." Silence. "You say that straight out," Kai said. "You came for the truth." May looked up. "Or for something else?" "For both." "Then here's the truth. I'm a coward. I was a coward back then." Pause. "That's why I left the adventurers. That's why I'm here. To heal people who don't need me to risk myself. Just to heal." Kai looked at her. May, who's been healing for 3 years? Who asked if it hurt? Who didn't stop because she was scared? Who lives with nightmares? Who tells the truth without trying to defend herself? It's complicated. "You're waiting for me to do something," Kai said. "I am. And I'm ready," May said simply. "If you came to kill me, I won't run away." Pause. "I'm tired of running. From the memories, from the nightmares, from that face." Kai stood up. May tensed. She didn't back down. Kai walked to the window. He looked out at the quiet street of Tyern. "I'm leaving tomorrow," he said. Silence. "What?" "Quiet." "I'm leaving," Kai repeated. "To Miros, then back to Leros." "You..." "May, you're not..." "No?" Pause. "Bye." "Why?" Kai turned around. "Because you're the only one who was against it," he said. "Because you speak the truth without holding back." Pause. "And because this hospital is what the city needs." He looked at the stack of medical books. At the grass on the windowsill. "You're doing what you know how to do. You're doing the right thing." May looked at him. "This isn't forgiveness," Kai said. "I know, it's a pause. I understand." "Live well," Kai said. "Live right. That's your job now." He stood up. He walked to the door. "Kai," May said. He stopped. "I'm sorry." A long pause. "Live well," he repeated. He went out. Outside, he stopped by a streetlight. 4 years with 5 people, he thought he knew them. It turned out he did. He just didn't want to see exactly what he knew. May was against it, the only one. And yet she kept quiet. Cowardice out of fear or cowardice out of attachment to life? There is a difference. Kai couldn't decide if it was big enough. Not yet, he'd see later. He walked to the inn. 3 days in the lab. Ren worked diligently. Data, observations, questions. Kai answered. A deal is a deal. On the 3rd day, Ren brought information about Laura and May. He laid down a sheet of paper. He explained in detail. Kai listened in silence. He stood up. Ren. Yes, you took precautions when you calculated the 3%, Kai said. Security, information to the guild, an anonymous reward for my capture. Yes. So you didn't just participate in what happened, Kai said. You kept working against me while I was in the pit. Actively. Pause, not just once, constantly. Ren looked at him. Technically, no need for technicalities, Kai said quietly. Silence. The deal was about information, Ren said cautiously. I gave the information. Accurate. You did. And the data on the skill is valuable, unique. You agreed to it yourself? I did. Ren watched, analyzed, tried to figure out where the conversation was headed. Kai, he said, the agreement has been fulfilled on my part. Yes, Kai agreed. Fulfilled. He stood up. He walked over to the table where the manuscript, the second part of the work, lay. Sheets with notes on the red mane, on adapting the reservoir, on probing. He picked it up. He looked at it. You wrote here about the transformation of the subject, said Kai. The section about how a year in the pit changed a person. Yes, you authorized it. Read it aloud, said Kai. This section. Ren frowned slightly. He picked up the sheet. The carrier demonstrates a significant psychological realignment of priorities. The primary motivation of revenge has transformed into a more complex system for evaluating subjects. The carrier is inclined to analyze specific circumstances rather than apply a single solution. This indicates a high level of cognitive flexibility developed under conditions of isolation. Conclusion: the subject is less predictable than a standard combat-type subject. High danger. Ren put the sheet down. You wrote about me as an object, Kai said. Even in the section about the person. That's the scientific style. You can't help it, said Kai. It's not an accusation. It's a fact. Pause. You watched me for 4 years and saw a phenomenon. You look now and see data. Kai, said Ren. Careful. The agreement... Fulfilled, Kai agreed. You haven't broken a single condition. He approached Ren, stood beside him. Ren didn't back down, looked straight ahead, counted. Then... Ren, Kai said quietly. You set hunters on me while I was in the pit. You set up the system more than once. The bounty, the description, the informants. Pause. If I'd come out weak, the first hunter would have taken me, and you would have gotten a notification and calmed down. Precautions. You wanted me dead, Kai said. Not because of hatred, because I was an inconvenient variable in your equations. Silence. Ren didn't deny it. The contract doesn't negate that, Kai said. You said I'd live for now. Yes, pause, until it's over. Ren managed to open his mouth. Maybe he wanted to shout to the guards. Maybe he wanted to activate the Academy's protective spell. The ring on his finger glowed faintly, a magical link. Kai sent a thin red thread. Not into his throat, into the ring. The thread entered the artifact's magical structure and destroyed it from within in a second. The ring went dark. The connection to the guards was severed. Ren looked at the ring, then at Kai. Phenomenal, he said quietly, almost admiringly, even now. Yes, Kai agreed. You destroyed the Academy's artifact through direct mana probing. That's theoretically impossible with current models. Ren. What? Shut up. Pause. All right, Ren said quietly. Kai raised his right hand. Red mana gathered. Not much, just enough. One last question, Ren said. His voice was even. He accepted everything as a given. Why not sooner? Why 3 days? Because I needed the information, Kai said, and because I wanted to see if you could see the person and not just the phenomenon. And? No, Kai said. You can't. Even in the final seconds, you're analyzing the skill. It's my nature, I know. The red mana went into the strike. Precise, into the heart. Not an explosion, but a needle. Thin, deep. Ren didn't fall with a thud. He sank slowly, into the chair. Like a man who decided to sit down. The manuscript remained on the table. Kai took the second volume with the new entries. Put it in the bag, not to use it, so nothing would remain. Then he set the first volume on fire, a small flame. The pages burned quickly. The phenomenon of mana absorption, a case of a unique carrier, ashes. He left through the side entrance. Guards at the main gate. The side entrance was empty. He walked away without hurrying. Alone. Kai arrived in the evening. He found her house in 2 hours. He watched until dark. May left the hospital late, tired. She was walking home alone in a quiet neighborhood. Kai approached from behind. Quietly, with his damage sensing ability working in reverse, he sensed that she didn't feel him approaching. May. She stopped, turned around. She saw him. Kai, she said, quietly. She turned pale. Yes? A long pause. They stood on an empty night street. The streetlights swayed in the wind. I thought you'd come, May said. I thought about it every night. Nightmares? Yes, pause. Your face, when you called me, you remember that. Every night. Kai looked at her. May, who had been treating him for 3 years, asked if it hurt. The only one who voted against it. Looked at the ground. Looked at the ground and didn't stop him. You were against it, Kai said. Yes, 4-1. Yes. And you stayed. Didn't leave the group. Didn't warn me. May lowered her head. I was afraid, she said. I won't survive alone. I was scared for myself. I know. Kai, May, he interrupted. Quiet. You were the only one against it. I know, that's important. Pause, but you stood there. You heard me calling you, and you stayed silent. She looked up. Her eyes were wet. She wasn't crying, just her eyes. I know. You're healing the city, Kai said. You're healing it well. That's true. Yes, this hospital is needed. Yes. But you're not the hospital, Kai said. You're the person who heard my name and didn't answer. A long silence. You came to kill, May said. No question. I came to look, Kai said. Now I've looked, and? Kai was silent for a long time. The only one against it. Heals the city. Nightmares every night. But she stood there, silent. When he called her by name, for 3 years she treated his wounds. She knew where it hurt. And she knew he would call for her specifically. And she remained silent. You knew I would call for you, Kai said quietly. May froze. Yes, she said almost silently. I was counting on it. I knew if I were to call out to anyone, it would be you. Because for 3 years you were the closest person in this group. I didn't... You knew. Pause. Yes, she said. And so what? May closed her eyes. The tears came after all, quietly without a sound. Yes, she said. It doesn't matter. Kai looked at her. There it was. Not just a coward who was afraid of loneliness. A person who knew he would call out and chose to remain silent. Consciously. In that moment. That's different. May, Kai said. She opened her eyes. I won't scream, she said. If that's what you came for. I know, Kai said. You've never screamed. Always quiet. The red mana flowed into his hand. Kai placed his palm on her shoulder. Gently, almost like a healer's touch. It doesn't hurt, he said. Okay, May said quietly. The red thread is thin, a single point, in the heart. May closed her eyes. She sank slowly. Kai caught her, preventing her from falling. He lowered her onto the bench by the lantern. She's sleeping over there, tired after a long day at the hospital. Kai stood over her for a second, the only one against it. But she knew he would call her and remained silent. He couldn't leave it at that. He went. Miros greeted him with salt and the cries of seagulls. Kai found the house in half a day. He watched. Ari in the yard, drawing, red-tinged hair, the tip of her tongue sticking out. 10 years old, she knows nothing. Kai watched her for a long time. The little one. Laura wrote to her every week, without fail. In any tavern, in any town, she would sit down and write. Laura left the house at noon. She went to the market. Kai followed. The market by the port, noisy, crowded. Laura stopped at the fish stall. She was talking to the vendor. A typical scene on a typical day. Kai stood next to her. Laura sensed it. She turned around. She saw him. She froze. Kai? She exhaled. Laura. The vendor was watching them. Let's step aside, Kai said. Laura nodded, stiffly. They went into the alley behind the market. Empty. The smell of fish and wet pavement. Laura turned to him. Her face was pale. Her hands clenched into fists. An adventurous reflex? Don't, Kai said. Your hands. She unclenched them. You found me. Yes. Did Ari see you? No. Relief flashed across her face. Quickly, Kai, she began. Tell me, said Kai. Tell me first. She spoke. Kai listened. Derek voted. Ren confirmed with numbers. Tom said it like this. I said yes. Because I trusted them more than I trusted myself. Because I was afraid of being wrong. I left first because I couldn't watch. Kai listened to everything, silently. When she finished, there was a pause. You left first, he said, because you couldn't watch. Yes, but you voted for it, yes. You've known me for 4 years, the first one in the group. A pause. You said I saved you on the first mission. Laura closed her eyes. Yes, and you voted for it anyway. I was weak. Derek was good at persuading people. I thought... Laura, Kai interrupted. Quiet. You didn't think. You chose not to think. Those are different things. She opened her eyes. Yes, she said. Quiet. Yes, you're right. Silence. Ari, Laura said. Her voice faltered. She doesn't know anything. Please, not in front of her. Don't. I saw her in the yard, Kai said. Kai, he's drawing the sea. Please, she draws well. Laura looked at him. Tears started flowing. She didn't hold them back. She has nothing to do with this, Laura said. She has nothing to do with anything. She's 10 years old. She's all I have. Please, she has nothing to do with this. I know, said Kai. Then, I don't touch children, said Kai. And I don't touch people who have nothing to do with this. Laura fell silent. She looked at him. Just me, she said. I understand. Yes. Okay, she said. Her voice was strangely even. Okay, then just me. Kai looked at her. 4 years. The first of the group. She wrote to her sister every week. She was the first to leave the pit because she couldn't watch. Not because she didn't care, because she had a conscience. A weak one, but she had one. She voted for I don't care. I watched you write letters to her for 3 years, Kai said. Every week, in every tavern. Yes, you love her. More than anything, Laura said. I know, Kai said. I saw. Pause. That doesn't change what you did, Kai said. No, she agreed. Red manna gathered in her palm. Kai, Laura said. Yes, take care of her, she said. Please, she has no one else. No parents. I'm all she has. Kai watched. She'll be fine, he said. She's 10. She's strong, Kai said. I've seen it. Pause. They'll find her. The city will take care of her. Pause. She'll be fine. Laura looked at him for a long time. Then she nodded. Slowly, she closed her eyes. Okay, she said quietly. The red thread entered precisely. Laura sank down against the alley wall. Slowly. She slid the bottom. Kai supported her, didn't let her fall face first. She sat against the wall. Calm. Like a person who was tired and decided to rest. Kai stood over her. Auburn hair, 4 years, letters every week, the little one. He left. Back through the market, past the fish stalls, past the people who were trading and arguing and living, at the market exit out of the corner of his eye. Ari was sitting on the fence, looking out at the sea. A drawing board on her lap. She didn't see Kai. Kai stopped for a second. He looked at her. Little one. He walked on. He returned to Leros 4 days later. Tom opened the door himself. As if he'd been waiting for this very moment. He stood in the doorway. You're back, said Tom. Yes? The others. Ren, May, Laura. Tom was silent for a second. He took in the information. Will you come in? No. We stood in the doorway. I need to know, Tom said. The information I gave helped. Yes. The debt is paid. The debt is paid, Kai agreed. Then Tom said evenly. What now? Kai looked at him. Tom, observant but without integrity. Helped, worked exactly as planned. Paid the debt. You said you were the only honest person in the group. You watched for 4 years and told the truth. Once. By the fire. And then you looked straight over the pit. Expressionless. Do you remember what you said by the fire, Kai said? Back then. The first year. That you're the only honest one, Tom said. I remember. You knew you were telling the truth. Yes, and when you voted, you knew what you were doing. Yes. You're the only one of the 5 who did everything with full understanding, said Kai. Derek convinced himself that the calculation was correct. Ren believed the numbers. Laura was afraid of being wrong. May was a coward. Pause. You understood everything, and still. Tom didn't deny it. Yes, he said. That's right. Why? Because the group was more profitable than you, Tom said. Simple math. Simple math, Kai repeated. Yes, and simple math helped me too. Duty. Yes, it's all math. Yes. Kai looked at him. The most honest answer of all. Tom never pretended to feel more than he did. He didn't feign shame, he didn't cry, he didn't beg. Just calculation, always. Tom, Kai said. Yes, you're the best scout I've ever known. I know. That doesn't help you now. I know that too, Tom said. You didn't come for the scout. No. Tom nodded. He stepped back from the door. He let him in. Kai entered. A small room, a table, the same map on the wall. Every place they'd been. 4 years of routes, dotted lines, markings. Kai walked over to the map. He looked at it. Gareth Forest, he said. Found the spot. Marked. Yeah. The pit? Marked, said Tom, with a separate symbol. Kai looked at the small cross on the map, in the Garrote forest. Why did you mark it? Because I mark everything, said Tom. Or so I don't forget. Silence. Or so I don't forget, Tom repeated. There. The only thing that wasn't a calculation. A small cross on the map. Kai turned away from the map. Tom stood in the middle of the room, hands down, not reaching for the knife, just standing there. Quickly, Tom said. Yes, red mana needle, precise. Tom dropped to one knee, then onto his side. Gently, like a man who is used to controlling his body. Kai looked at the map one last time. A small cross in the Garrote forest. He left. Copper anchor. Evening. Derek was sitting by the window, alone, an L in front of him. He saw Kai when he entered. He nodded. Kai sat down across from him. Silence. It's been a long time, Derek said. Miros is far away. I saw everyone. Everyone. And? Dead, Kai said. A long silence. Derek looked at him, reading his face. All four of them, he said. Yes. Ren thought you'd leave him. The deal. I fulfilled the deal. Then I decided. May was against it. She knew I'd call her. It didn't matter. Tom helped you. He helped. I repaid the debt. That's separate. Laura, said Derek. Sister. I didn't touch my sister, but I did touch Laura. Derek looked at him for a long time. Then he nodded. Slowly. Like a man who had received a report and taken note of it. Now it's my turn, he said. Yeah, you could have killed me right away. When I was standing in the alley for the first time, I could have. Why didn't you kill me then? Because you were waiting, said Kai. You wanted to understand why. Did you figure it out? I did. And why? Because running away meant cowardice, said Kai. For you, that's worse than guilt. Derek watched. Yes? That's interesting, said Kai. You pushed me into a pit, and it didn't break you. But running away from the consequences would have. Strange logic? Your logic, yes. Silence. Derek picked up the mug, took a sip. Slowly. Set it down. Kai, he said. Yes, tell me one thing. Go ahead. I was wrong in my calculation, Derek said. Not in my intention, but in my calculation. I didn't account for you as a person. I accounted for you as a function. Pause. That's a mistake, I admit. Another pause, but I won't say I regret the logic. I know, Kai said. And you came anyway. Yes, because incomplete logic is no excuse. No, Kai agreed. No excuse. Derek set down the mug. He stood up. Slowly. He left his sword by the wall, Kai noticed. He came here without a sword. He stood opposite him. Tall, broad-shouldered. The one who always led the charge into battle. I won't defend myself, Derek said. I know. Not because I can't, because I won't. I know, that's all I wanted to say. Kai looked at him. Derek. The one who came up with it? Led, pushed, the one who waited? The one who came without a sword? The one who doesn't defend himself not because he's weak, because he accepts. Just as he always took everything head-on without flinching. A strong man who did the wrong thing and accepts the consequences just as directly as he did everything else. Derek, Kai said. Yes, for 4 years I followed you first. Yes, because I trusted you. Yes, you destroyed that. Yes, and there's no going back. No, Derek agreed. Kai stood up. He approached. He stood opposite him. He looked. A large face, an honest gaze that didn't look away. 4 years, red mana gathered. Slowly, Kai wasn't in a hurry. Derek looked at the red veins that glowed on Kai's arm. Phenomenal, he said quietly. Ren was right. You're one of a kind. Ren won't tell anyone anymore. Yeah, pause. Does it hurt? Derek asked. Same question. Like with May, like always. Does it hurt? No, Kai said, for the first time, really. The red thread went straight to the heart. Quickly. Derek didn't fall. He stood on his feet for a second. He looked at Kai. Then he slowly sank onto the bench. He sat down, leaned back against the wall. His eyes closed. Kai stood there. He looked at him. 5. 1 year, done. He took Derek's mug, finished the last of the ale, set it down. He stood up, left the tavern. Night. Laros, the port. The smell of the sea and tar. Kai stood by the water. He looked at the ships. 5, Ren, May, Laura, Tom, Derek. Names he had repeated for a year in the darkness. Now silence. He clenched his fist. Red veins glowed faintly, then they faded. The reservoir was full, the red mana was calm. Both forces were waiting. What for now? A year in the pit was the answer to the question of why endure. 5 dead, case closed. What next? Somewhere in the city, the Adventurers Guild. Boards with quests, levels C, B, and A. Kai is a man without a group, without an official history. Kairen died in the Garrote Forest a year ago, an accident. Good. A dead man has no past, only the future. He turned toward the city. Leros at night. Tavern lights, voices, ordinary life. A new name, a new beginning, alone. Kairen, the shield that had been dead weight, died in the Gareth Forest a year ago. The one standing by the port now is a different man. Nameless for now, but with a power no one else possessed, and with a year of pain ground down into something greater than revenge. He went into the city. 3 things Kai decided by the port that night. First, a new name. Kairen died in the Gareth Forest. There was no need to bury him. Others had done that for him a year ago. Second, no group. Alone. Always alone. Groups are people who vote. Third, level A. Not because of the money, because level A means missions where real strength is needed. And real strength requires a real test. Without a test, the reservoir stays in place. Red mana doesn't grow. Grow or stand still. There are no other options. In the morning, he went to the Adventurers Guild. The La Rosa Guild is a large building in the center. It's bustling from the morning. Adventurers of different levels, different specializations, boards with quests along the walls. At the registration desk, a young woman with the weary look of someone who's seen it all. Kai approached. New registration, he said. The woman took a slip of paper. First name. Pause. First name. Kai had been thinking about this for 3 days on his way back to Leros. The name had to be simple, not memorable, one that wouldn't be searched for. Say, he said. Last name. Just say. The woman looked at him. They registered people without last names, but rarely. Usually those who had no family or who wanted to forget they ever had one. All right, just say. She wrote it down. Skill, accumulation. The woman looked up. Accumulation, she repeated. Rare. Yes, level, not determined yet. Then we'll start with D standard. No. The woman set down her pen. New participants start with D rule. I want to take the level test, Kai said. The test costs money. 3 silver. All right. The woman looked at him again, at the red streaks peeking out from under the collar of his jacket. At the calmness that wasn't arrogance, just a fact. The tester is free after lunch, she said. The tester was a man in his 40s. He was large, with the calmness of people who fought many battles and learned not to rush. His name was Grow. His specialty was earth magic. They went out to the training yard next to the guild. Accumulation, said Grow. He looked at the streaks. I've seen it before. Level D, a young guy. He took hits, but his limit is low. After 3 or 4, it overflows, uncontrolled release. Another option, said Kai. Let's see. Grow started with something simple. He threw a stone. Quickly, with magical acceleration, Kai took it in the shoulder. Didn't dodge. The reservoir absorbed it. Grow raised an eyebrow. Does it hurt? No. He threw a second one. Heavier. Kai took it. He held his ground. The reservoir's limit, said Grow. Show me, I won't show you, said Kai. Why? Because a full reservoir looks like a threat to the city. I don't need trouble with the guild. Grow looked at him. Smart, he said. Practical? Then an attack. Show me what you can do. Kai raised his hand. Red mana gathered, a small amount. A quarter of what he was capable of. He struck the training post. The post split apart. Not a clean explosion, but in all directions. Splinters flew across the yard. Grow looked at the spot where the post had been. A long silence. What was that? He said quietly. Red mana. A side effect of accumulation. Never heard of that. A rare occurrence, Kai said. Grow looked at him for a long time, assessing something. Level B, he said finally. You're a new member. Level A, Kai repeated, or you'll have to leave for another guild. Grow looked at him for another second. Level B+, he said. Final offer. In a month, if you prove yourself on the assignment, we'll bump you up to A pause. All right, Kai agreed. The mission board. Kai read slowly. Level B plus 3 positions. First, escort a trade caravan north. 1 week, average pay. Second, clear out a bandit camp. A group of 3 people. Third, special, solo. Level B plus with a possible upgrade to A. Investigate the anomaly in the Saver dungeon. A mage researcher went missing 3 weeks ago. Find him or confirm his death. High reward. The guild warns 3 out of 5 sent earlier have returned. 2 did not return. Kai took the slip of paper. 2 did not return. Good. The Saver dungeon is 2 days east of Leros, in the mountains. Kai rode alone. He thought. A year in the pit gave him power. Power must be understood. Not just used, but understood. Accumulation reservoir, a year of continuous filling. The crystal dealt constant, gentle, small, endless damage. The reservoir adapted. It grew by orders of magnitude. Red mana allows for precise use of the reservoir, not an explosion. But what else? 4 applications: strike amplification, transfer destruction, probing, shield. There must be more. The reservoir is accumulated pain. Pain is energy. Energy is anything. If you learn how. On the second day in the mountains, savor a small dungeon at the foot of the mountain. The entrance is a cave with a magical seal on the stone. A 5-pointed star, partially worn away. Someone broke the seal, Kai realized. Didn't remove it. Broke it. Roughly. A mage explorer or something that was inside? He entered. Darkness is no problem. A year in absolute darkness had trained him. Kai moved through the cave as if in daylight, guided by sound, by the air, by a premonition of danger that worked in the background. The cave went down. Deep. On the 3rd level, the first ones. Shadows. Not people, not monsters in the usual sense. Dark, humanoid figures, but distorted. Their movements jerky. Where a face should be, there is emptiness. Shadow devourers, Kai remembered. Rare. They live in dungeons with strong magical anomalies. They feed on life force. The damage they inflict isn't physical. They draw life directly. The first shadow moved toward him. Kai didn't back down. He let it touch him. The shadow clung to him. Pulled. The accumulation sensed a new type of damage. Not physical, but a magical outflow. It recorded it. It absorbed it. The shadow was confused. It was pulling, but the life force wasn't leaving. The feedback loop was broken. Kai sent a red thread into the shadow. He tried probing. Strange. The shadow was hollow inside. No structure, no organs, no heart to strike with a needle. A different approach. He gathered mana in his palm, not a needle. A broad wave, a flat one. He struck with his palm through the shadow. The shadow dissipated. It didn't die, it simply dissipated. It broke apart into pieces that darkened and vanished. Area of effect: red mana kills shadows. Good. He moved on. On the 4th level, shadows swarmed, dozens of them. They flocked to the source of life, to him. Kai stopped in the center. An interesting experiment, he thought. He let them swarm all over him, all at once. They pulled from every direction. The reservoir accepted them. It filled quickly. Very quickly. They're filling me up, Kai realized. Faster than the crystal. When the reservoir was nearly overflowing, he released it. Not as needles, as a wave. Spherical in all directions. A silent red explosion. Only light. Dark, red, bright. All the shadows within a 10-meter radius dissipated instantly. Silence. Kai stood in the center of the empty level. The reservoir was half empty now. The release took a lot. But level A monsters. 1. A few seconds? Not bad. The 5th level had found the mage explorer, or rather, what was left of him. An elderly man, sitting against the wall. Alive, breathing. But his gaze was empty. The shadows had consumed too much before Kai reached him. Kai crouched down in front of him. He looked. His life force was severely depleted. Not fatal, but he was close to the edge. He tried something new. Red mana, not in a strike. Into the mage's hand, carefully, like an infusion. Accumulation stores damage, stores another's pain. But what if he directed it the other way, to store for someone else? Red mana flowed into the mage. Gently. The mage shuddered. His gaze cleared. Slightly. Who? The mage said hoarsely. The guild sent me, Kai said. Can you walk? The mage. My legs won't obey me. Kai lifted him up, put him on his shoulder, carried him. As he carried him, he thought about what he had felt. Red mana entered the man and gave him strength. It wasn't healing mana, it simply gave him life energy, a boost. The 5th application. Temporary amplification of another's life force. Interesting. He left Savor at dawn on the 2nd day. By this time, the mage could walk on his own. Weakly, with support, but on his own. They were waiting at the exit. 2 adventurers, not guild bounty hunters. Level A, judging by their insignias. They looked at Kay. You went in alone, said the first one. A woman, short hair, a sword over her shoulder. Yes. Into Savor, with the Shadow Devourers. Yes. And you came out, with a survivor. Yes, for how much? 2 days. The adventurers exchanged glances. We were waiting for reinforcements at the entrance, said the second one. A man, older, 3 days. We didn't dare go without a 4-man team. Good caution, said Kai. Go rest. He walked past. What's your name? The first one called after him. Sai. Skill? Accumulation. Silence. Kai was walking toward his horse. He heard a quiet conversation behind him. Accumulation? He looked at the veins. This isn't basic accumulation. 1 in savor, 2 days. Who is this anyway? Kai mounted his horse. Just say, bye. Kai worked alone for a month. 5 assignments. Each level B plus or higher. First savor, Shadow Eaters, completed. Second, a mountain troll north of Laros. A lone mutated one. Usually a group of 4 or 5. Kai alone. Took 3 hits. Each could have killed a regular adventurer. The reservoir absorbed it, struck the base of the skull with a red needle. The troll fell. 1 hour of work. Third, a magical anomaly in an abandoned tower. The artifact had gone out of control, emitting constant damage to all living things within a 100-meter radius. Kai entered. He took the continuous damage the reservoir was accumulating, reached the artifact. Probing with red mana, he found the point of instability, destroyed it. 20 minutes. Fourth, 4 werewolves in the village to the west. Kai arrived at night, on a full moon when they are stronger. He took attacks from all 4 simultaneously. His mana pool was nearly overflowing. He released a wave. The village lost 3 trees and part of its fence. The werewolves vanished. The village was unhappy about the fence. Kai paid for the fence out of his earnings. Fifth, a private contract. A merchant from Laros, a wealthy man. A competitor hired a B-rank mage assassin specializing in poison. Kai found the assassin on the day he arrived in the city. Poison is best against ordinary targets. To counter the accumulation, Kai took 3 doses into his bloodstream. The reservoir absorbed it. The assassin watched as the victim didn't fall, his eyes wide. Kai explained the situation to the assassin. The assassin left. He refused the contract. A smart man. The guild noticed. It couldn't help but notice. Solo assignments that used to take teams. Speed. No wounds after serious fights. Grow looked at the report sheets. He frowned. On the 28th day, he summoned Kai. Said Grow. Yes. 5 missions, 5 out of 5 successful. All solo, yes. Second mission. A troll. I asked eyewitnesses. Pause. The troll weighed a ton. 3 direct hits could have flattened a small house. Yes. You held your ground. The reservoir absorbed it. How much can you absorb? Pause. A lot, said Kai. Be more specific. I don't know the exact number. It's true, a year ago I knew the limit. Right now I haven't figured out a new one. Grow looked at him. Level A, he said. As promised. Good, but let's talk first. Speak. Grow stood up, walked around, stopped by the window. The guild knows about you, he said. Not just Laros. Rumors spread fast among adventurers. A loner with a stash. Red streaks. Alone in savor. Pause. People are noticing. Let them notice. Not everyone who notices is a good person, said Grow. There are those who will take an interest. Seriously. Who? The Explorers Guild, said Grow. The Academy of Magic. Pause. And others. Those who use strong adventurers for tasks that aren't posted on the boards. The Academy, Kai thought. Ren isn't there anymore, but the Academy remains. I don't work in groups, Kai said. They won't offer a group, Grow said. They'll offer money and a task. And then they'll take an interest in your skill. I know how to say no. Sometimes they don't give you a choice, said Grow. Quiet. This isn't a threat from me, a warning. Kai looked at him. Grow, 40 years old, earth magic, tired of wars, an honest man. One of the few in the guild who speaks plainly. Why are you telling me this? Because I've seen people like you, said Grow. Strong loners. Pause. Most either disappear or break down. Or go work for whoever pays the most. Pause. Rarely do they stay true to themselves. You want me to stay true to myself. I want you to understand what lies ahead, said Grow. The choice is yours. Kai looked at him for a long time. Thank you, he said. Grow was surprised. Kai noticed. I rarely hear that, said Grow. Honest people are rarely thanked, Kai said. He left Grow's office. He went to the assignment board. Level A, 3 positions. First, escort a diplomatic delegation to the neighboring kingdom of Ervon. Group of at least 5. Skipped. Second, clear the Kern dungeon. Ancient, deep, unexplored. Level A+. 2 groups went in and didn't return. The guild warns of an anomalous magical field inside. Maximum payout in the history of the Laros Guild. Third, search for an S-level artifact in the ruins of Old Taros. A job for a research team. A group is required. Kai took the slip of paper from Kern. He walked up to the counter. He registered the quest. The woman behind the counter looked at the slip of paper. She looked at Kai. Kern, she said. Solo, yes. There. 2 groups went in there and didn't come back. I know, it's written here. The guild rules don't prohibit a solo level A mission, she said slowly. But this... I understand the conditions. The woman looked at him. Then she stamped the slip. Good luck, Sicey. Thanks. He headed for the exit. At the door, he bumped into someone coming in. He took a step back. He looked. A girl of about 18. Short, dark hair, a level B patch on her jacket. A sharp, quick gaze, the kind of look that assesses instantly. She was looking at him. Sorry, she said. It's fine. He was about to walk past. You're that Sei, she said. Kai stopped. He turned around. Which one is that? A solo player with a stack. Seaver in 2 days. 1 troll. She listed them off like a checklist. They say red veins and eyes that don't react to pain. Rumors spread fast. In the guild, yeah, she wasn't embarrassed. Are you taking Kern? Yeah, alone. Yeah. She looked at him for a second. Take me. Pause. No, I'm fast. Level B, speed and reconnaissance specialization. Dungeons are my thing. No, Kai repeated. Why? I work alone. Kern killed 2 groups, she said. Without fear, just a fact. Even you might need someone to watch the other side. I have a premonition of damage, Kai said. I look in all directions at once. A premonition of damage doesn't replace reconnaissance. Smart, Kai noted. And technically correct. What's your name, Eri? Eri. Pause. No. Let's go. I'll follow you anyway, she said over his shoulder. Kern is open to everyone level B and above. I'll register separately. Kai stopped. She'll follow. Kern killed 2 groups. If she follows, she'll run into whatever killed those groups, without his cover. He turned around. Eri was looking at him. Straight on. No apologies. You did that on purpose, Kai said. On purpose, she agreed. I need this mission, and with you I have more than a 50-50 chance. Why do you need it? Pause. The first pause since she started talking means she doesn't want to answer. Personal reasons, she said. Not enough. Then money. The highest payout in the guild's history. That's not enough either. Then I'll die there alone, and it'll be on your conscience, she said. I don't have a conscience, Kai said. Pause. You do, Eri said confidently. Otherwise you would have left already instead of talking to me. Smart. Kai looked at her. 18 years old, level B. Sharp gaze, not afraid. A personal reason she won't name. Reminds me of someone. Myself 4 years ago. Before the group, before the pit. No, doesn't remind me of anyone. Just a young adventurer who wants the impossible and doesn't understand why he wants the impossible. Rules, said Kai. Eri stepped forward slightly. Listening. My orders. No arguments in battle. Okay. Personal reasons aren't for during the mission. After. Okay. If I tell you to leave, you leave. No questions asked. Okay. If you break even 1, you're on your own. I understand. Kai looked at her for another second. Not a group, he told himself. Just a temporary alliance. 1 person. Not 5 people voting. Tomorrow at dawn. The East Gate. Eri nodded. She quickly hid a barely noticeable smile. I'll be there. Kai left. Not a group, he repeated. Just 1 person looking the other way. See you later. A cheap room. Kai sat by the window. He looked out at Laros at night. Eri, 18 years old. A personal reason in Kern that she won't name. Smart enough to use his conscience as leverage. Honest enough to admit she's using it. An interesting person. Careful, he told himself. An interesting person doesn't mean a trustworthy person. Derek was an interesting person too. The rules are strict. The first sign of a violation is 1, okay? He clenched his fist. Red veins stood out. The reservoir is steady, full. Kern, 2 groups haven't returned. An anomalous magical field. Let's see what's there. Let's see what Eri's personal reason is. Let's see who Sei is. I lay down. I closed my eyes. No names before bed. Only tomorrow. I fell asleep.